Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and last night we had our first Star Deck 5 tournament for the Gundam card game. So all of Star Deck 5 was legal, including the new color purple, which I know a lot of people are excited about, and I'm excited to go over these results as well. So this is also the format that we're going to have the rest of this meta for until GD02 comes out. So the events in LA and Toronto over these next couple days or weeks are going to be using this format as well. So if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Gundam card game, and I don't want you guys to miss it. Also, if you guys want deck lists for this event and many others, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description. And then if you guys want to check out the live stream, it's also linked in the description. I did 6 rounds of Swiss with Risu, and make sure to follow him as well. And lastly, big shout outs to Emily, who was our judge for the evening. Would not be able to do the event without them, and I do really appreciate it. So for this event, we did have a top 8 of 3 Cyber new types, and then single copies of a blue and green Xeon Aggro, a Strike Tempo, a Unicorn Tempo, Wing Zero, and Gundam Barbados. So this is kind of a lot of like the decks that we're expecting in this format, and honestly a really good turnout for you know, having 64 players, 6 rounds of Swiss, right? We're able to kind of get like 6 unique decks into the top 8, which I think is really cool. So and then also if we look at the color breakdown, we did have 15 blue white, 14 blue purple, 11 copies of green white, 9 copies of blue green, 8 copies of blue red, and then 3 copies of purple white, 2 red white, a mono blue, and a purple and red. So again, a good amount of variety for a format. You know, we only have so many different color combinations in this game, right? But we still see, like, you know, blue white a lot of people are on, but only, you know, less than 25% were on any certain, you know, color combination, which I think is cool as well. So we're going to go over all of the deck lists in the top 8 too. A lot of these are kind of just understood. We are at the end of this meta, kinda, or it's been kind of solved. There has been a little bit of difference with how the you know, the Star Deck has interacted, mostly with the purple side, but there are some new white cards I know people have been testing as well. So looking at our first place list, we've got Michael with their build of blue and red Cyber new type. We also do have 3 other copies of Michael's and Chase's version of it as well. Also, if you guys don't know, Michael was the person who was able to get 2nd place at Dallas with Cyber new type, and I know he's still been playing it a lot too, so that's been fun to see him join this event and then, you know, testing it as well. There's not, you know, as much testing for this, but I think the kind of key cards that we see are kind of tech cards that we see. One, we see Gun Cannon. I don't think this card is like mandatory in this deck as much, but I knew a lot of people have been playing it, especially if we are playing a single copy of Sailor Nass, which I do like having like the extra 9th pilot for this deck. It is a Cyber new type, right? So there are some times where if you want to put it in Kshatriya, we are able to use it to get that extra 2 ping damage across the board, which is really handy. And then also it does link with the Gun Cannon, so there are some times where that could help you out in the mid game. We are also playing a single copy of Close Combat, which spoilers did kind of come up in the finals and did help win there, so that is I think an important card. If you know, there are a lot of decks that are ping damage centric right now, so being able to have that 2 damage is good too. I know like at the beginning of the format a lot of people are on Ace Combat and that hasn't been as much, or sorry, Battle of Aces. Not as many people have been on that card recently, but it can still be strong in the deck too. And then other than that, just kind of the standard pieces we've been seeing for this deck. So I think still in a really good spot. It's my favorite deck to play right now, and congratulations to Zach for their finish. And then Michael, you can see any differences, only like big differences, making sure that we have enough copies of our Riza. We are also playing 3 more of our level 2 1-drops, so I think we've been seeing a lot of people kind of go earlier on the tempo from that, just to make sure that you have some really good aggression and try to put your opponent down to low shields very early, so then you can like kind of pressure from there. And then we also do have Chase's build here, was able to get 8th place with it. We do see Gun Cannon as well, so maybe it's a little bit more popular than I'm thinking, but you know, I'd say this is a pretty standard list, right? A bunch of 4s and then 2 copies of the Kshatriya level 4, and that's pretty it, right? I honestly say this is like the most standard build you could play with this, with, you know, just having 4 copies of everything else. So not much more to say, but congratulations to our Cyber new type players. Next up, we've got our blue-green aggro, and so this is Dustin's version of the deck, and obviously this deck has been doing pretty well. I think as honestly has been doing a little bit better than I was expecting it to be in this meta in general, and I think a lot of it's just because of based on like the people who play in these events are not always indicative of like larger events. You know, blue-green did win the Dallas regionals as well, and I am curious to see how it will do this upcoming weekend in Los Angeles as well there too. So one kind of like some minor tech changes that we've been seeing. One, not everyone's been playing more than like, well, they usually play like one tech copy of Char's Galgoog, maybe a second copy. At this point, I don't think people are playing much more than 2 of this card, which went, a big discovery from like going from 4 at the beginning of the format down to this. We're also playing 1 copy of the Gundam from the set instead of 4 copies of the Starter Deck 1. I think most people say that this one is like generically the better one in most situations, but there are some weird times this does help you. The fact that it does draw a card in a deck where we don't have that much cycle is helpful to help you maybe find a Char later in the game. We are playing 2 copies of Showa Resolve. We've got the Corsica base, and then the rest of the kind of the regular deck we see here, right? We've been seeing a lot of these Zaku 1-drops, right? We also do have our Rick Dom, which I know a lot of people were pretty weren't sure how good this card is, but I think most people decided that it is good enough to play at 4 copies, and has been finding some success there as well. So not much more to say for this one, but congratulations to Dustin for their finish with their blue-green Xeon aggro. Next up, we've got our blue-white Strike Tempo. So this is Shayanta's version of the deck for this, and this has been kind of like an adaptation I've been seeing in the last couple weeks at the end of this format, where at the beginning of the format, blue-white was really dominated by kind of like the big freedom blocker decks, and they had like this kind of thing where they didn't lose, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily winning all the time. The hope is that you were able to be defensive enough to be able to get enough value where eventually they just are in top deck mode and you still have a couple of cards that you can play, right? But now we've been kind of switching to more of like, I'd say, this tempo build. So we've got the Strike Tempo. We also can look at some other builds that are blue-white as well, but generally speaking, I think most people have been deciding that L Strike with Kira shuts down a lot of decks momentum. Being able to kind of interact with 2 cards at once is really strong. It's kind of similar to Sword Strike Gundam and Kira as well. Being able to use that has been incredibly strong at being able to just buy your extra turn, buy your time to be able to get some aggression, being able to get rid of blockers as well. We also have 4 copies of the Perfect Strike Gundam, right? Being able to do like a kind of minorly worse version of like Ale Strike, but can still be helpful there. And I think what helps the most with this deck is there are so many decks that just are playing tokens right now too, right? The fact that all your bounce to hand effects are just fantastic on tokens help you get that additional value there too, and that has been really helpful. So it is interesting to see kind of like more of like this tempo deck. We are still playing the Zawart. I know a lot of people are still playing like the gyms, or like some of our like level 2 1-drops as well, but Zawart can help you get some like good trades in the mid game. I know Rizel's been good, and also Hyakuren as well, the purple one, helps the deck too by having like a second copy of Rizel, so that is there. We're playing the Corsica base. We got Overflowing. We got 4 copies of Unforeseen Incident, which I normally see this at like 2 to 3 copies, so seeing the full 4 is kind of interesting. And then our Showa Resolve and Striker pack as well. But obviously, like in a deck like this, when we have so much card draw, we are like more consistent than a lot of other builds. We have to make sure that we're producing bodies on the board at the right time. But here is the build here from Sayanta. The next up, we've got our Unicorn build here, and this is David's version of the deck. And I don't know, Unicorn's been like in a really weird spot, I think, for the majority of this format, right? It's done well, but then it didn't really show up in Dallas, but then it ended up winning the event in Spain. So I don't really have a good way to track how good this deck is consistently, right? It's known that like blue and white is a really, really good color combination, and it was the most popular one for this event too. But because of this, how good the card pool is, there's so many different tech choices and ads that you can be doing as well. So I've kind of mentioned it before too, but generally speaking, a lot of people have just been teching into the Strike package that includes Kira with the build here with the Sword Strike, and being able to get that again early aggression there. Late game you are like a little bit better, and the fact that you are able to get into this spot where like Unicorn can just really force some really good trades for you and help you out for that one as well. So I think that this deck has been it's blue and white is not a bad color combination. It's really, it suffers from this issue where there are so many good cards that you can be playing in these decks that you have to really whittle it down to the ones that make the most sense for your situation and for the decks that you're playing. So I don't have much more to say here, but this is the build here, and congratulations to David for their finish with their blue-white Unicorn blockers. So next up we've got Wing, and so this is the build here from Jordan. Also, Jordan wanted me to mention that he does have a YouTube channel, New Type TCG. I'll have it linked to the description. He's going to to do a profile going over the deck as well, going over a little bit more. And I think that, you know, in a format where wing is kind of like understood from kind of a template side, this is definitely a little bit of a different build from it. So ideally, the biggest thing that I noticed is that we're not playing Death Scythe. And if you guys have been watching, you know, my content here too, Death Scythe is definitely, I feel like, one of the weaker cards in the deck at times, right? The fact that it's a card that you have to kind of have, you know, your pieces on curve for it to be like really worth it, and then otherwise it can be kind of clunky. I do think that being able to have like more of this blocker centric build, being able to just get into the late game a little bit more consistently is kind of the same as this getting the ramp, right? If you're playing the mirror match and you're playing against Death Scythe, you do feel bad because they get to ramp because of it, but you also just get a lot of value from your blockers as well. So there is just the additional adds of like, one, the Strike Rouge. This is a card that I haven't been playing, but I can see it be, you know, a solid add where you either, you know, you can play it on curve and just get like an easy trade, or like in the mid game you can use it to, you know, restand your cards if your opponent's not respecting this card. So that is good there. We're not playing as many bird modes, only 2, and we are playing like the Wing Gundam, Freedom Gundam, as well as Wing Gundam Zero. We are also playing 2 copies of Soletta, which this is exactly what I'm doing in my build too, where, you know, even though you have nothing that you can link with, the fact that you just have this +2 HP is really all that you really want, right? Turning Ilfrith into a 3/6 is really strong. Being able to also get some situations where sometimes I'm like, you know what, I can play, if I have like Soletta on the board already, I could play Wing Gundam on 8, I can attack with whatever had the Soletta underneath it, and then I can, you know, leave one open and then use Underground Desert Base or something like that. That kind of flexibility on that one resource can be really good for extending plays, especially when we're also playing Overflowing Affection and Unforeseen Incident to also take advantage of that too. So lastly, we are playing the Kusanagi, which this has been on the rise in this format too, being able to use this card to add 1 card from your shield to your hand, then choose up to 1 enemy unit with 3 or less HP, return it to its owner's hand, which, again, when so many decks are playing so many tokens right now, it being able to interact with them is great, and the fact that you can interact with them on your opponent's turn, right? So let's say, I think it actually happened on stream as well. Let's say you attack into this and you played Corsica base and then you attacked into shields. So you can play this Kusanagi out and then you return the Tall Geese back to their hand, right? That's just really, really strong and can prevent you know, another damage or something else, especially like with purple running around a little bit. That means that, you know, they're going to have a lot of damage units, which means Kusanagi can bounce it back there. So this is definitely an interesting build. It's a bit of a deviation from what I've been playing, and I definitely have to test it as well. So this is Jordan's build, and make sure to check out their YouTube as well, linked in the description. And then lastly, we've got our blue and purple. I know you guys are waiting for this one, but it did finish 7th place, and this is Jerome's build of the Gundam Barbados. So this is definitely like, you know, a lot of people are on this blue and purple color combination. If we go back to the deck, right, it is the second most played color combination in it. I know a lot of people were testing it. The other deck kind of combination was purple and white, where you had a couple people on that, and then one copy of purple and red. But it's kind of like clear why this could be, you know, really good off the gate, right? And the answer is like, it's a kind of a different cyber new type ping kind of build, where instead of using the cyber new type stuff, you use the iron-blooded orphan stuff. We do have like the Mikazuki. This card's just really great. It's kind of like a more flexible version of the Merida, right? Being able to just deal 1 damage to anything when paired. It does deal 1 damage to one of your units too, but that generally doesn't matter as much. You almost always will, you know, as long as you get to dictate where it goes, you almost always will do a 1 damage to 1 damage trade, because that will help you get where you need to go with it. So I think that can be very, very strong in those situations. Again, we also do have the Hyakuren. This just being like a second copy of like Rizel in this deck is fantastic. It lets you just get some really good board stuff. We're also playing the Jigen, which I've been testing with a little bit like an Earth Federation build too, just because we can like swarm the board kind of easy with this one. We're playing the Anksha, we're playing the Gun Tank, being able to get that additional damage. 2 copies of Show Resolve, and then Fatal Strike, which honestly I don't know how I feel about this card, so I do need to do some more testing. This can just get rid of like a really important blocker, but you know, best case this card goes 1 for 1, right? And I don't know how I feel about that, right? You're using a level 2 cost to generally get rid of a level 2 cost on the other side. There are some situations though that you can get rid of like a striker pack token, which is kind of nice to be able to do that. You know, Ilfrith is still like one of the most popular cards in the game, so just being able to have an answer for it. But the issue is that you're spending 2 resources to get rid of the card that they played for 2 resources, right? And I don't know how I feel about that. It's not I don't think it's bad. I'm not saying that it's bad to play this card. I just haven't been convinced personally that it's a card that I think is worth 3 spots in the deck quite yet. So other than that, I think this has been, you know, a lot of people have been testing blue purple. It's the build that I'm going to be doing some testing with today as well. And I'm curious to see, again, like I think a lot of people are really curious to see if any purple decks end up being relevant in the next couple weeks, as we have our, again, Las Vegas and Ottawa regionals in October. So anyways, that's going to be the list here from Jerome, and congratulations for their finish with the blue and purple being the first one with purple on the list, you know, on the website too. So that's going to be it for this one though. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you guys want any of the deck lists, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. Make sure to check out the live stream in the description, and that's going to be it for me. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.